Now, for larger learning projects, we typically need more complex imagery. We need more detail in our associations in order to make it work. And then in order to make it scale, we want to place these images inside of tools that we call memory palaces, ideally memory palace networks. But first, let's look at a more complex example so you can see what I mean. So if we have something like mei shu guan, which is a Mandarin term for art gallery, if memory serves, and you got different details in there. You have third tone, fourth tone, third tone, and you have the sounds mei shu guan. And I have Spider-Man wearing a wig to help me remember just the May part. And so Aunt May is Spider-Man's aunt. And so this image of Spider-Man, he has a gray wig on to remind me of this sound. And then there's a shoe in the image for the shoe sound. And there's elements that aren't in the image for reasons I'll talk about in a second, but there is something in my mind, in my larger association, for a guan sound. And all of this helps me remember an art gallery, which is the meaning of the term. This kind of visual mnemonic, it goes into a memory palace, but because of the complexity of this particular image and just feeling tired that day, I drew it out. I made a little picture for myself, and the index card that it's on becomes part of the process. It becomes part of the memory palace network. Now, the trick to this is, and it's part of the reason why there's some images in this mnemonic image and sometimes there aren't, like there isn't an image for guan, is because we don't want the answer on the card. We don't want art gallery anywhere on the card. The back of my cards when I use them are blank. What we want instead is a puzzle to solve. Now in the memory science, this is related to a term called active recall. I have a video all about how this works on this channel, including another video that has a detailed memory training on using the memory palace technique. I'll have links to these resources in the description below this video. And listen, if you're new here, you might be thinking, Aunt May, Spider-Man? Well, what is this all about? If you would love to play more with associations like this, Aunt May and Spider-Man and myself would love for you to join us by hitting that subscribe button and hitting the thumbs up and enabling notifications so you don't miss the opportunity to discover more about the real deal mnemonics. Because, so many trainings out there, they're focused on memory competitions and so forth, which doesn't get you to the long-term retention of knowledge that becomes wisdom or becomes part of being able to hear and understand and use a language. With that in mind, the truth about these mnemonic images is that mnemonic image, is it really about imagery? You see, the idea of an image mnemonic makes it seem like the associations have to be visual. But I shared with you this example from the card to show you that when I can't imagine something, when I can't see something in my mind, which is a lot of the time, I can make it visual by placing it on a card through a drawing. But visual mnemonics, to really work well, to be what I call magnetic, they can't be just one category of association. They can't be merely visual. In the Magnetic Memory Method Masterclass, I teach you all the major categories of association and many subcategories of association. And the major are the cave cogs. So cave cogs is itself a kind of mental image that helps you remember kinesthetic, auditory, visual, emotional, conceptual, olfactory, gustatory, and spatial. All of these are kinds of mnemonic images. And you might be thinking, how is space an image? Well, if you think about the size of Aunt May in a memory palace, that's the spatial mnemonic. And thinking of her really, really big, smashing down on a shoe, well, that bigness, the size of her, becomes a kind of image itself. And it doesn't even have to be visual. You could just think about the weight, which is not really spatial, but it's related to the spatial element. The more you play with these cave cogs, and I've just dwelled on the spatial one for a second to show you the rich nuances that you can get into, the more they're going to help you make very, very profound mnemonic images. Now, cave cogs are the major 8 categories that most of us wind up drawing on the most often, but there are 20 more that I teach, and knowledge of these can be very, very useful, especially if you struggle with the visual component, because they get more and more granular without needing to be images in the sense of pictures on a wall. The point is this: True mnemonic images are multi-sensory, and good mnemonic imagery never relies on the visual mode alone.